Testimony of Saint Teresa de Avila. In her autobiography, the great Carmelite saint relates an illness which tested her for 3 years. This is how she speaks of Saint Joseph. My extreme weakness cannot be described, for I was nothing but skin and bones. I remained in this condition for more than 8 months, and though my paralysis kept improving, it continued for nearly 3 years. When I began to get about on my hands and knees, I praised God. Throughout the time I was so ill, I kept a strict watch over my conscience to drive away from me the very shadow of mortal sin. Unfortunate being that I was, I longed for health that I might serve God better. When I found myself, still so young, struck with paralysis, and saw the sorry state to which earthly doctors had reduced me, I decided to have recourse to heavenly ones to obtain my cure. This was the object of my desires, without, however, depriving me of the great joy with which I endured my sickness, even though it occurred to me that, if a return to health was to bring about my damnation, it would be infinitely better for me to remain as I was. Nevertheless, I could not drive away the thought that if I were restored to health, I would serve the Lord with a much greater devotion. Alas, it is one of our illusions not to surrender fully to God who knows, better than we, what is good for us. To make the Lord grant me my wishes, I asked that Masses be said for me, and I had recourse to highly recommended prayers. I took Saint Joseph as my advocate and protector and recommended myself very earnestly to him. He came to my help in the most visible manner. This loving Father of my soul, this beloved protector, hastened to pull me out of the state in which my body was languishing, just as he snatched me away from greater dangers of another nature, which were jeopardizing my honor and my eternal salvation. For my happiness to be complete, he has always answered my prayers beyond what I had asked and hoped for. I do not remember even now that I have ever asked anything of him which he has failed to grant. I am astonished at the great favors which God has bestowed on me through this blessed saint, and at the perils from which he has freed me, both in body and in soul. To other saints, the Lord seems to have given grace to help us in one or another of our necessities. But of this glorious saint, my experience is that he succors us in them all, and that the Lord wishes to teach us that as he himself was subject to him on earth, for, being his guardian and being called his Father, he could command him, in like manner in heaven he still does all that he asks. This has also been the experience of other persons whom I have advised to commend themselves to him. And even today there are many who have great devotion to him through having newly experienced this truth. I wish I could persuade everyone to be devoted to this glorious saint, for I have long experience of the great blessings which he can obtain from God. I have never known anyone who was truly devoted to him, and who rendered him particular services, who did not notably advance in virtue, for he gives real help to souls who commend themselves to him. For some years now, I have been asking for a special favor on his feast day, and it has always been granted. If, through some imperfection, my request was in any way moving away from the goal, the glory of God, he would rectify it, so that I might draw a greater good from it. If I were a person writing with authority, I would gladly describe at greater length and in the minutest of details the favors which this glorious saint has granted to me and to others. I only beg, for the love of God, that anyone who does not believe me will put what I say to the test, and he will see by experience what great advantages come from his commending himself to this glorious patriarch, and having particular devotion to him. Those who practice prayer should have a childish affection for him, always. I do not know how anyone can think of the Queen of the Angels during the time that she suffered so much with the child Jesus, without giving thanks to Saint Joseph for the perfect way he helped them. Let anyone who cannot find a master to teach him how to pray take this glorious saint as his master, and he will not go astray. Finally, his power and goodness shone upon me. Thanks to him, I felt my strength return. I arose. I walked. My paralysis was cured. In her filial piety, Saint Teresa de Avila never failed to call Saint Joseph, Signor y Padre mio, my Lord and my Father.